Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 894 for the 5th of August. But before we start the situation report, a big development has happened. In local time 8 a.m., the Ukrainian forces have launched an offensive towards Kursk. So should be read. So the Ukrainians have launched an offensive from this direction, along the highway from Sumy towards to Kursk. Uh, in this direction, like they heading towards Kursk. That's the plan, or at least that's somewhat of the plan. And this is reported and confirmed by the Russian Defense Ministry. The Russian Defense Ministry has reported this offensive. They say 8 a.m. Moscow time, so not exactly the local time. I think Russia and Ukraine have a different time. So, but anyway, 8 a.m. Russian time. They estimated up to 300 Ukrainian troops from the 22nd Mechanized Brigade, with 11 tanks and more than 20 armored vehicles, launched an attack against the Russian border. So the Russian state border covering force over at the where's the name? Nikolaevo Darino and Oleshnya, near Oleshnya, was engaged. So they reported the Ukrainian attack in these two sector, and so the fighting was actually reported by Ryba, the pro-Russian source, of fighting near the Zutka checkpoint, which is across the border crossing around here at the Zutka, basically named after this place. And there's another attack coming over in this direction. So this is confirmed by the Russian Defense Ministry, and the Russians have reported that they have reacted to repel this offensive, inflicted fire damage at the Ukrainians and their reserve forces. So the Russian Air Force was reportedly tasked into attacking concentration of Ukrainian forces and near Bazovka, Zuravka, Khoten, Yunakovka, Belovide. So there's a lot of places all in Sumy. And this Air Force basically wiped out the Ukrainian, or at least heavily damaged the Ukrainian armored reserve. So as a result, they reported, of course, take this with a pinch of salt, up to 16 units of equipments, including 6 tanks, 2 infantry fighting vehicles, 4 armored personnel carriers, and 3 Kozak 1 counter obstacle vehicles was destroyed. And of course, this is a very vague report as usual, because this is from the Russian Defense Ministry level. But what we understood is that there is multiple attacks. So the Ukrainians attack in the Oleshnya region near the Sutka checkpoint. Another push is over at Nikolaevo Dorino. There was another push moving towards Dorilevka, and there was another push towards Godievka. So these are the various push with the force attacking in this direction towards Zuka, being one of the main push and a secondary push around here. The other two is probably covering or diversionary. So this is the Ukrainian attack. And the furthest point, there was a geolocation, there's two geolocations. One geolocation was actually Ukrainian column of strikers moving to the Russian border that was geolocated by military summaries team. And his team then, in the latest report, geolocated a possible convoy that was destroyed along this highway. They cannot confirm if this is the exact location, but they think this might be the best guess at this moment, unless someone have a better guess. So this could mean that this is the furthest point the Ukrainian forces managed to go, all the way to the highway position, and they got destroyed. The feeling that I get is that this offensive is never going to break through, because the size of the attack force is just too small. So tentatively, that is what we have at this moment. In the latest report, Braiba posted 2 different reports on this very situation, and the second report generally did not have much new things, to be honest. Largely is almost the same as their initial report. And so this is the current situation. Based on the Ribas mapping, they did not indicate this thing. This spike did not is not here, but the Ribas mapping basically shows the Ukrainians managed to have some kind of a attack in this direction. They are unsure. They draw this entire area as black, as totally under the fog of war. They do not know if the Ukrainians are there, there's a possible attack over at Gogolevka, around here. Maybe the Ukrainians took it, maybe not. The Ryba is not so sure. So, but that is the most that they have. They call this the main push, the main attack, the main direction of attack. Everything else is not really. They also mentioned that there is other suspicious activities on the Ukrainian side with the gathering of forces over in Velika Pasarivka, as well as over in Hoptivka. So, but this force may able to launch. This is like where the Ukrainians previously launched an attack in this direction. This was the previous Ukrainian offensive operations, that the Belgorod offensive. So this was where they attacked previously, and of course there's another direction coming from Voschansk region, which is now in heavy battle. So this is definitely not going to happen. So this is the two directions, but this is also very close to the Lipsy sector, where the Russians is currently putting pressure on the Ukrainians. So this is probably Ukrainians' attempt to divert the attention of the Russians, or trying to pull some wins. However, I did mention during the Belgorod offensive already, this comes too little too late. And the amount of forces that is engaging over in this offensive towards Kursk seems to be really small as well. 300 soldiers from the 22nd Mechanized Brigade. We're talking about maybe at most a battalion, I think, from my gut feeling of the numbers. I'm not very good at this kind of thing, but it looks in terms of these numbers and structures and whatnot. But I think this is probably a battalion worth at most, and it's just not enough. They need at least 10 times to 100 times at least these numbers. So 11 tanks, they need at least 110 tanks. Like they need at least 100 tanks, or 200 armored fighting vehicles. You need to be a very huge force, and I think then you can have some kind of a real kind of success in taking some grounds in this area here. Maybe push towards Kursk. Although this Kursk is of course not the most ideal objective, because the original ideal objective is Belgorod, but they failed to even capture this. So Kursk is a bit far. So anyway, this is definitely the Ukrainians trying to do something. And I'm not faulting the Ukrainians for this. I'm just saying that they wasted the counteroffensive in 2023. They should have done this as their main offensive in 2023, not hitting the Zaporizhia line. So there is other information around this area, like the Russian airstrike on the Ukrainian deployment point over at Maropilia. Who knows, maybe there was another Ukrainian force that was gathering here. Maybe they were trying to attack in another direction, and they were struck by the Russian Air Force. And there's also a Buk M1 anti-aircraft system that was destroyed further in the rear positions. Clearly shows that the Ukrainians are preparing, have prepared this to cover their offensive actions against the Russian Air Force. But clearly it's not working. The Russian Air Force have a field day, taking out all the armored vehicles from the Ukrainian side. So it's the battle, the offensive, this Kursk offensive is still ongoing. The Ukrainian Kursk offensive, this Kursk, but like the name is cursed. The offensive is cursed. So tentatively no breakthrough. If we're talking about like by now, what's the Ukraine time right now? Sorry, we should look at Moscow time. Give me a second. Let me check Moscow time as per recording. It's now 6:30 p.m. If 8 a.m. started the offensive, and we are talking about 12 hours in, we have no signs of Ukrainian forces capturing Zutka. So I use another Zutza. I don't know how to pronounce that. Zutza, or going to Malaya, Loknia, getting somewhere. They should be like getting somewhere. If they're not getting anywhere, they are not in Koronevo, that some kind of a marquee place where the Ukrainians can have a foothold, then I think the offensive has failed. The first push, the initial punch, must always be the most powerful one, because you have all the forces intact before the Russians can react. And since then, the Russians has reacted, and I think this offensive has already ended within 24 hours. So whatever it is, we will just continue to monitor this current situation. I will be clipping this out and I'll put it on the main channel. So, or maybe not, because it does do cannibalism to the SITREP. So anyway, we'll go on to the situation report. So this is the latest information in terms of the from the Sumi region, the offensive towards KURSK, the KURSK offensive, which is KURSK. So anyway, we go into the Kherson front. At the Kherson front, over the previous day, Russian forces shelled Tokarivka with fighting reported towards Dnipropetrovsk direction. There is also a geolocation of self-propelled artillery getting destroyed by not too sure what thing. Counter battery action. So it's by Russian artillery. So, or some other things. I didn't see the footage, so I'm not too sure. But not very important. This is a very dead front right now. So that's all from the Kherson front. We move into the Zaporizhia front. Over the Zaporizhia front, the Russian forces continue their offensive in this region here, with fighting reported at Nesteryanka towards Mali Shebaki and in the Robotine region. So we still have no corroboration about whatever I have analyzed to be the case over in this salient, but we shall continue to wait and see how this goes. We move on. Over, there's nothing at the Huaypole sector. We move into the Donetsk front. At the Donetsk front, we have this update. Did I change the colors? Okay. Yeah, because that's from the frontline changes report. So this one already mentioned in yesterday's situation report. The Russians continue to be attacking in the direction of Rozdony. According to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry, there's fighting reported towards Vodian, but there's no updates regarding this. Ukrainian forces geolocated to be hit by a Lancet artillery of Bohoyevlenka was destroyed by Lancet. And so that's all from this line here. We move into this Marinka sector with the Russians continue their clearing operation in the Krasnohorivka region. This according to the Russian sources. They didn't say that there is any offensive. They said that they are clearing the city, and there is allegedly fighting reported in Georgivka according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. But that's about it from this area. We move into the Avdiivka front. In the Avdiivka front, in the southern flank, we have fighting reported at Kalivka, Yasnobrodivka, in the Novoselivka Persia region, and at Mezove. Mezove is not exactly an offensive. It's just mainly the Russian sources getting up to speed with the situation on the eastern outskirts. In the last report that I saw, they say that they did not know of any information of the Russians attacking into Mezove, but they did indicate it's a very small village and it is a crossing over to the other side of the Voschar River. Ukrainian forces along the highway, Humvee got hit by FPV drone, so that's off Kalinove. So there's another Kalinove. So many Kalinoves in this country. So that's all from this southern flank. We move into the Pokrov sector. In the Pokrov sector, Russian forces are attacking Zeleny, and in the latest geolocation, frontline mapping by the Ukrainian sources have shown that the Russian forces have basically taken most of the eastern outskirts of Zeleny and are forcing Zeleny into some kind of a trap right now. Russian forces are attacking at Serhievka, Vesely, towards Hrodivka, at Ivanivka, Lisichny, and Russian Defense Ministry have announced the capture of Timofeyevka in today's report. Most of the other information is not mapped into this report because this report is yesterday's report, talking about the summary of the yesterday's action. But in the today's report, the Russian Defense Ministry did mention the capture of Timofeyevka, and there is the new information, new location dropped by the Russian Defense Ministry. They said that they are attacking they're attacking Olivka over here. So the Russians are continuing to making the push. So this could be just shelling. This could be just shelling, but it could also be fighting near. We are not sure, but it does show the direction that the Russians are making this push towards Novohrodivka. So we shall see how this develops around this area here. In the Zeleny region, I can talk a bit more about this situation around here. And so this is satellite imagery, the pre-war one. If you look at this footage over here, not footage, this mapping over here, there is all this water body around here. The Ukrainians have only left with this road, out, this road out, this road down along the river down this way, and yeah, and then this crossing over here, but not crossing, this way out from the other side of the water body. The Russian forces are already attacking from the railway line inwards from the west, and which means that a lot of this area would not be crossable. That means this path is not exactly safe to go now. And with this latest update coming from the Ukrainian mapping, Russian forces have taken everything in the north, and they are now poised to attack through the north, and they have taken everything from on the eastern part. Because of this frontline position, this road may be unsafe to use, as the Russians might likely continue to push in this direction to close off this retreat route, which means the Ukrainians have now only the center path, the southern path to leave, and the Russian forces are in the zone of capturing this other junction, which means this road may not be also usable. There's only one road left to get out of Zalini. So this is the Zalini, strategic situation is disastrous, and I don't believe the Ukrainians is going to hold a defense line any longer. I believe they are going to do this mass withdrawal very, very soon. So I shall expect more updates coming from Zalini region or Zelani region over the next 12 hours. So that's all from this region, and as mentioned, Timofievka, the center group of forces captured Timofievka. Over in the northern flank of the Avdiivka front, there is, other than the information that I already mentioned, Russian forces continue to put pressure at Novo-Alexandrivka and Vodyzenka, but that's about it from this area. We move into the New York front. At the New York front, massive update as mentioned in the frontline changes report. This is a massive update from the Ukrainian mapping. They have considered one third of this entire salient that was potentially getting encircled, with Russian forces taking everything in the southeast of New York. So this leaves the Ukrainians with the heavy entrenchment around this city area in the eastern part of the city, and the Russians, of course, already at Zalizny. They are making progress and clearing operations. Are doing clearing operations around Zalizny. There's a possibility of them pushing towards Nelipivka, and this progress also put into question if the Ukrainians are even holding the line around here, because this is the firm control line. Then we have the gray zones. So the Ukrainians may be holding a much more rear position than previously believed. So, and the Russians are also putting pressure in the city itself. The situation is looking like the entire Ukrainian New York eastern defense line is going to entirely collapse at this rate. So, and in yesterday's SITREP, I also go into details about this tactical situation in New York, where there's only a few choke points, where the Russians, very similar to what I just mentioned about the Zelany region. So, of course, New York is a much bigger place, but the similar situation, there's very few roads, very few paths that the Ukrainians can leave this area with. So if there is an order for withdrawal, I think that is a very good thing for the Ukrainians, because at least the troops here, as I mentioned, this is a very, very long way to walk out of to safety. So them getting a retreat order probably is a good idea, but the reality is that we do not know if this is a retreat or if this is a Russian assault that captured all these areas. Deep State UA did not want to talk much about this. They only say that the enemy advanced, and so we do not know what is the circumstances of the collapse of this entire area here, so we will continue to monitor. But with this, we have the fighting reported at New York and Pentamelanivka, as well as in the area near New York. So we are seeing some massive changes around this area. So let's wait and see if more shocking news will come out from New York. Over in the Thorax sector, Russian forces are also making progress, with Russian forces making progress in Druzhba and Pivnishny, with the entire southern half of Pivnishny fully captured by the Russian forces. And there's also some slight push in Druzhba. Fighting is continuing towards Thorax, and the Russian forces are attacking in Zalizny, probably doing clearing operations. So This is the thorax sector. Some geolocation of this is a very interesting geolocation because this is the FPV drone of the Russians hitting Ukrainians. So this drone located by Creamy Caprice, but this contradicts, or maybe it can be somewhat contradicts this geolocation of Russian forces so far out into the depth of Pivnishny, and also the mapping changes in this area here by the Ukrainian sources might suggest that this geolocation may be a belated video. It's an old video, so that's something to note. And this geolocation is a X-38 missile hitting some Ukrainian position. So that's it from this area in the New York front. Over at the Bakhmut front, we have continued fighting reported in the Chasiv region, Ivanyske, and towards Priteshny. Of course, Priteshny is a bit far, so just take this with a pinch of salt. This is by the by the Russian Defense Ministry. Probably it's just some shouting report. No, but I just indicate as it is for now. So that's all from the Bakhmut front. Not much information. We move into the Sivers front. At the Sivers front, Russians are still conducting their offensive. So after so much action in all over the other front lines, Sivers is losing love. People are not caring that much about it. But the Russians are making serious pushes in this area in Verkhan-Okanyamsky, Ivano-Darevka, Vimka, and Perezny. This continues to be a very consequential front. And we shall continue to wait and see if there's any more information drop. So there's a Russian airstrike geolocated near Ivano-Darevka, so showing that Ukrainian forces are at least in the area of Ivano-Darevka and Spurny. So that's about it from this area here. Then and we move on. Anyway, before Sivers front updates always come very slow. The intel drop always takes some time, maybe once a week at most. So just be patient. I think more information is going to come. Over in the Crimea front. At the Crimea front, the Russian forces are attacking the Serbiansky forestry at Terny towards Novosadove, Nevsky, and Makievka. So this is the strategic picture of how it looks like around here. And particularly, there is a geolocation of a Russian strike in the Nevsky region, where a bridge was destroyed by the X-38 missile. So very interesting. This X-38 suddenly appeared quite a bit. So this is a air-to-surface missile. Probably you can't see this very well. So this is a X-38. I'm not very familiar with this. Of course, this is a tactical air-to-surface missile. So they was used. I'm not sure how does it launch. So it's a guided missile, and then it's deployed it's fired by a Sukhoi 34 and a Sukhoi 57. So this is a Sukhoi 34 strike. Guided missile strike. This is a very rare thing to see in the earlier, the first 2 years of the war. So it looks like the Russians starting to use some expensive missiles. I wonder what is the qualifying factor to use this missile, because now they have fabs. So why would you use this missile if you can use a fab, which is probably cheaper? I'm not sure how they do the calculation, because I believe that there is always some kind of a formula to decide what target is worth killing with what sort of weapon. So let's see let's see if there's a pattern that will emerge that we can actually study and understand. So we move on. Over at the Svetove front, we have fighting reported only in the Stemakivka region. So that's all from the Svetove front. Went super quiet. Again, remember, there was this rumors by the Ukrainians talking about massive Russian forces gathering in the Svetove area, and then they're going to launch an attack towards Barova. Did not happen. And the same thing had happened even before that, where they claim that the Russians have these massive forces gathering over in the Kupiansk front, and they're going to attack towards Kupiansk. Never happened. So this is something to note. Where the information coming from the Ukrainian side, sometimes it's just not accurate. Maybe, or sometimes it's accurate, but the Russians just doing some maskirovka. And I learned something new. Maskirovka, which is the Russian tactic of deceiving the enemy, making false move. There's an English word for it. it's called masquerade. So masquerade, is a bit like pretending, acting, something masquerading as something else. So that's where the word come from, masquerovka, masquerade. So I was like, whoa, that's why I can remember the word now. Previously, I can't remember the word. So interesting. But yeah, it could be the case where the Russians just gathered a lot of forces and the Ukrainians thought that the Russians going to do an offensive, but maybe end up it was just a rotation. Maybe it's just a rotation. So we move into the Kupiansk front. At the Kupiansk front, at the Pivshani region, the Russian forces are attacking towards Kolinivkivka and Berestove. So that's about it from this. And there is fighting reported over in the Sinkivka region and Petropavlivka. The usual, nothing new around here. And then we move into the Kharkiv front. At the Kharkiv front, we have over at the Voschan sector, the continued battle of Voschansk continue, and the Russians are attacking towards Taike. At Taike, yet another turbo-barrel rocket strike on the Ukrainian position. So I think whatever thing that is over there, it must be super dead right now, because it's really overkill over at Taike. You see in the previous, there was already another TOS strike, then this comes another TOS strike. So whatever is there, it might be a Godzilla. They're trying to kill off this massive monster that refused to die. Over in the Lipsy sector, there's nothing over the Staresia sector though. Over the Lipsy sector, we only have fighting reported at Lipsy, according to the Russian Defense Ministry. And that's about it from this area. And everything else over the Kharkiv front is related to the Ukrainian KURSK offensive, with the gathering of concentration of forces allegedly reported at Khotivka and Velika Pysarivka. Anyway, to be more accurate, they say that it's on the line from Khotivka to Velika Pysarivka, which means that they say that this entire line here, there's concentration of Ukrainian forces. So maybe they are trying to suggest that here comes again, round 3, Belgorod offensive round 3. So, but I think that would be a waste of forces by the Ukrainians, because there's more pressing needs to hold the lines elsewhere. And I don't think the Ukrainians have enough to do a major offensive into Russian territory, and that is the crazy thing. That's the crazy thing. From my estimate, if my country Singapore go into a total war situation, Singapore's military right now will be more powerful than the Ukrainian ones. And even with that, myself as a Singaporean would not believe that we have any chance against the Russians. So in that logic, I cannot imagine Ukrainians have any chance against the Russians, because if I don't think the Ukrainian military is right now stronger than the Singapore military, and the Singapore military I don't believe can beat the Russians, then by extension I don't think the Ukrainians have any chance against the Russians. So unfortunately, that's the case. And I'm not talking about the entirety of the history of Ukraine or the entirety of this war. I'm just talking about right now. At this very moment, the Ukrainian military is very devastated. I just can't see how they can get out of this. Like, they only receive like 5 F-16 right now. Singapore have 60 at least. So yeah, and that's not counting F-15s. And I'm not even talking about our 200 tanks, 200 Leopard tanks. So there is a disparity, and even that, Singapore is no match against Russia. So I'm not sure how the Ukrainians are going to fight on, and but they will. And to me, if the idea is to get a negotiated peace settlement, then they need to hold the line. But they're not getting the line hold, and they are trying new adventures towards Kursk. And the worrying thing I would say is that they might just trigger a Sumy offensive. Like, because what happened in the last Belgorod offensive is that it triggered the Russian Kharkiv offensive. So now if they do a offensive near Sumy towards Kursk, then maybe they might get they get a Sumy offensive from the Russians, just for buffer zone reasons. The excuse of we need a buffer zone. The Russians said we need a buffer zone. Yeah, that will be quite bad. Whatever it is, anyway, thank you for watching. Do press the like button, subscribe. I just added the DPA Open Mic 90s link here in the map in case you want to watch it. Oh yeah, I need to go back to the previous map. Yeah. So in case you want to watch it, the link is here, easy, and I added the timestamp so it will be easy for you. Otherwise, you can also find the older videos around here in case you want to watch it. Watch the older SITREPs and reports if you don't understand what the hell is happening on the map. And I'll see you guys in the next update.